Hey, this is Tina.
And this is Erica.
And we are A92A. A92A stands for ages 9 to adult. That's how long we've been on this journey together as friends.
92 is also our high school graduation year.
And ages 9 to adult is a nod to the board game Life, which we rockified as kids in order to live out our rock and roll fantasies. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. You heard a little chuckle. So now you know.
So excited, Tina. It's another guest day.
We have a guest today. Okay. We are so excited to welcome. He's an amazing musician, vocalist, and performer. He's young in age, but a very, very old soul. And he's bringing back a new brand of soulful rock with his gritty classic rock vocals, incredible stage performances. You know him as an American Idol finalist from season 20, and he's just moved out here permanently to Los Angeles from Alabama. Please welcome Tristen Gressett.
What's up, guys? Hello. It's so nice to be here.
Oh, guys,
I'm so excited. You know, Tristen, I think by far you're probably the youngest guest we've had on the show.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
No. Typically we're interviewing like the 80s rock guys who are just, they're like our age.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not fresh-faced like you are.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, we had Evan Tinker on, who was pretty young, but still not as young as Tristen. But
Good
yeah.
point.
I'm fangirling because we were just laughing about this story. We sort of accidentally bumped into Tristen backstage at the Whiskey.
Yes.
He was there performing with a band called Fast Times, who've been a guest on our show as well. And I literally almost fainted.
She did. You guys, I'm not kidding. Like Tristen walked into the green room and walked back out again. And Tina was like, was that Tristen Gressett?
I watch.
So excited.
I watch every season of American Idol, and you are absolutely one of my favorite contestants of all time. And we have to talk a little bit about Idol. Obviously, it's brought you here. So, talk about why did you decide to audition? Why was age 17 the year for you to do it?
Well, it was kind of funny because I'd actually don't tell anybody this besides this entire podcast, but I actually had auditioned for The Voice like the year before, or the same year earlier that year. And I never heard anything back from him.
Gotcha.
And then, and I was just like testing the waters to see what was up, And then the American Idol auditions rolled around, and my mom was like, "You need to audition." I was like, "No, I don't want to do it. I'm not ready," or whatever. And she was like, "No, you should do it." And I was like, "All right, well, let's see what happens." So I joined the Zoom call, and with The Voice, it was so different because you just like sent in a tape,
right?
And with American Idol, it was like, it's everybody on the live together. Everybody's doing this.
Oh, okay.
And I get in the room and it was just like I got in front of this one guy and I did my audition and they seemed super, super impressed. And I was like, oh, wow, this is great. And then they sent me in front of another person. I was like, oh, wow, this is great. And then they sent me in front of another person. I was like, okay, this is really, really good. And then I was in front of the director of the show. And I was like, well, this is going good. This is going swell. And it was so funny because I was actually that night, I was supposed to go on a date with this girl and we were supposed to go to the movies. And I was like, Mama, I don't want to audition. I'm going on this date.
I got a date.
I'm going on a movie date. This is not happening right now.
She's super cute. I can't miss the date.
Yeah, it's like, I can't pass this up. Are you serious?
Oh my God.
And, but I ended up auditioning. We ended up going to the movies afterwards. So it all worked out.
Oh my God. Well, so then you did your first on-camera audition in Nashville in front of the judges.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny how they portray it. They're like, oh, he just walked up and he came to audition.
Right.
We just got this guy off the side of the road. He just went, come on in here, son. Come in front of these 3 national superstars with no background check at all whatsoever. Get up here. Get in front of them. No, there's a lot of stuff that happens beforehand.
Tristen, how did you feel? Because I can imagine, just like anybody, like going into a situation like that, there's probably a lot of self-doubt where you're like, I'll give this a shot, but I'm not going to be disappointed if it doesn't go anywhere. Like, I'm just going to try it. How did it feel when you were moving to the next step?
Well, I was actually just completely 100% confident, hardcore metal shell. No, it was, it's terrifying because I come from like a small town, a very small town.
Yeah.
Like the most unique scenario in the world, a small town boy with big dreams,
Yeah.
We've never heard that.
Never heard of that before. No, and then you get around all these singers though. And to really big fish, small pond moment turns to little fish, big pond moment. And you're like, okay. And you start you start learning things from all these people around you. And that was probably, I learned so much from the contestants. And you really kind of force yourself in that situation. You start to reflect and you're like, what makes me unique as an artist? What makes me the artist that I am?
Yeah.
Because I'm around all these other people who are discovering that, and a lot of these people already know who they are. And so you have to reach within yourself and really reflect and grow a pair and be like, oh my gosh, who am I?
Right.
You know? And so it was a real big self-discovery moment, but it's also a real big learning moment, you know? It was,
Well, speaking of learning moments, the judges weren't so sure about you on
No,
that
man.
first song. And I rewatched your audition. Your journey has been so amazing to me, but they weren't sure about you, and they gave you a second song and coached you all the way through it. Like they were stopping and starting
Yeah,
you the whole time. What's going through your head at that moment?
well, you know, like there's like two halves of me, because I've always been a big actor and I've always been like a big musician. And so like simultaneously these two parts are running through my head. Like this is the first time that all these people are going to see me. Like I can't screw this up, and I can't crack under pressure in front of these people, because like they're not going to send me through if they see that I can't handle a little bit of criticism. You know, so like half of me's like, okay, take it and learn with it. And then the other half of me's like, ow, man, gosh, dang, man. There's like a karate chop to the neck, you know? And it's like, but I'm learning, you know, it's a learning process. And there's a lot of things that they wanted me to change that I kept the same about myself.
Right.
And there's a lot of things that I knew, hey, if I change that, that makes sense, you know, because they wanted me to be more serious as an artist. And I took that and I ran with it, because I realized that I don't want to be looked at like the Jack Black. The world doesn't need another Jack Black. The world doesn't need another Bo Burnham. I need to be more serious in my presence. But I also want to be a lighthearted person that people can get down with, you know? So there's a balance that I learned to strike. So.
And oh my God, you do look like Jack Black.
yeah, especially when I grow out the beard.
I just put that together.
It's funny. I lose like 10 pounds when I shave the beard, but like I'm growing it out through December just to see what happens, because I've never done it before.
Let's see. Let's find out. You know, when Tina and I met you at the whiskey, your mama was there, Missy.
Yes,
and so she was out there actually to help you physically move to LA. So now that, you know, you've mentioned that your mom has really been like at everything you've ever done, like what's your support structure like now that you're living out in LA without family right there with you?
Yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie, it's really different, because I'm still trying to make friends out here. Anybody out in LA
who wants to be friends?
Who wants to be
guy?
friends? Here I am. Real easy going. I'll send you a friend resume, I guess. But no, it's kind of difficult. I'm not gonna lie. It's a difficult transition, because I've been in that safe space my entire life with my mama and my friends, and you know, family and close friends. And it's always been me and my mama. Like it's always been me and her, but I've always had like a support group of friends as well.
Yeah.
And kind of like detaching myself from that and moving out here, there's this sadness of, oh man, they're not just like right there. Like I can't just be like, call up one of my buddies and be like, let's go do something, and be like, hell yeah, you know? And like here it's completely different, because I'm still making those friends. I'm still in the process of that. And I also have like this fear of like people forgetting about me back home while I'm out here. And that's a scary feeling. And
I really felt for your mom, because, you know, I have an 18-year-old son that just moved off to college, and his dad and I got divorced when he was 2. So for 16 years, it's just been he and I, and that's it. And so when he moved off to college, like it was like heartbreaking to me. And so I really felt for your mom when I talked to her and knew that she was out there to move you off to LA. It's difficult. It's a really hard transition. There's almost like a lot of grief involved. It's just like, it's really tough, because there's a whole chapter of your life that's sort of not the same anymore. And you have to move forward and figure out what your next move is.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's really hard too, because of all the things that have kind of happened in result of the move. Like, you know, but it's just things that I'm taking and learning and growing with as an artist and as a person, you know, and But I'm not going to be a downer here. I mean, I think it's amazing out here. You know, there's a
No,
beach.
it's all for the good. It'll change you for the better. It will change you for the better.
I came out here at 17, actually. And
wow.
I came out here to go to college. I was a little bit younger than most people. But I fell in love with Los Angeles right away.
Yeah.
You know, we're also from a small town. We're from South Sioux City, Nebraska. Not a huge, not a huge town at all. So I've been through that. I've pretty much been here since then. It's been 30 years. So
I honestly couldn't imagine doing that. I could never do that.
Well, listen, maybe you buy Missy a big mansion in Malibu,
big old pink
someday.
Cadillac. That's what I got to get first.
Yes.
I got to get her a big old pink Cadillac.
I love it.
But no, like I'm just so, I miss the small town atmosphere.
Yeah.
I miss like going into a Waffle House at like 3 a.m. and seeing one of my buddies.
Yeah.
Knowing people.
Yeah. Knowing people, you know?
Yeah.
And part of me misses that walking into Walmart and like having to answer like 50 questions every time I go in. I miss that.
Right.
I do.
Listen,
I go into
here's
Walmart
what's going to happen.
I'm like, how's it going, guys? And they're like, shut up, dude. Jesus, what's wrong with this guy?
You
take this opportunity.
Take this opportunity to like grow and, get yourself solidified as an artist, build that foundation, and then you can move to wherever you want.
Definitely.
You can always go back. And that's the thing that I think is so different about the music industry now. People are not always centrally located in one place. Like they're doing what they're doing from wherever. And maybe they're going out on tour. Maybe they go to LA or Nashville to record an album or something, but they're mobile, like most of us are these days. It's just a different environment.
Yeah. And that's pretty much the end goal. But right now I'm trying to establish a bunch of connections out here. And so far it's went
that's the place to be.
Wonderful. And like I've had to like nail my chain down right here, but be able to run around, because there's so many opportunities that I was able to get here that I'm not going to be able to get back home.
And we were just saying before, you have booked some really like historic venues in Los Angeles so far.
Bucket list moments.
Oh my God, you've played the Whiskey, you've played Hotel Cafe, which is absolutely legendary.
I mean, that
Molly Malone's,
Oh my gosh, those have been great shows. Actually, my next step, I'm going to Canada. I'm so excited.
Ooh.
I've already been to Canada once, and it was like, okay, so I got to list my favorite places on earth. Number 1 is home. Okay. Number 1 is home. Number 2 is the desert.
Okay.
Okay.
And number 3 is Canada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What do you love about Canada?
Canada, because it reminds me so much of home.
So West Coast or East Coast Canada? Like where?
I think it was
Vancouver or like
around
Toronto?
New Brunswick.
Exactly.
Grand Falls.
Okay.
Oh, it's beautiful. Oh,
I love Canada. I think it's gorgeous. And I'm a cold weather person anyway.
Yeah,
Tina and I always talk about this. She's hot weather. I'm cold weather. So I love Canada. It's like my kind of vibe up there.
I'd rather put on a bunch of jackets than.
Yeah.
I feel like
what's wrong with you guys?
In cold weather, not in warm weather.
But you grew up in a warm weather state though, didn't you, Tristen?
I grew up in a bipolar weather state.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Alabama can't make its mind up. It's like, are we hot today? Are we cold? Well, let's just have a tsunami and then a heat wave, halfway through. That's Alabama.
All right.
I mentioned you were an old soul in the intro, and it's so true. And for those who don't know, his journey in American Idol, a lot of your song choices were classic rock, 60s, 70s kind of stuff. And that's really your vein, where your voice is too. Where does that come from? Like, where did you develop your influences?
Well, it really comes from my mama, because she's been such a heavy influence in my life. And when I was around, oh my gosh, 8th grade, like I had some experiences that really opened my eyes and really made me like, kind of made me realize what I wanted to do with my life. And that it really kind of set the pace of finding this new genre of music and really exploring that and finding my place in that. Because I feel like at my core, I'm really much more into like the 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
Like that's where my bread and butter is. Because I feel like at that point, music was so organic and it was made for like a reason, And today, in today's music, it's kind of hard to find a reasoning in songs sometimes, You're like,
it feels more like it's made for a single hit.
Yeah.
Rather than something that's really personal, introspective, important. It just feels like it's kind of more of a machine. Do you feel that way?
Yeah. Yeah. One of my friends told me this one time. They were just like, yeah, man, music is just made to be temporary. And I was like, oh, wow. Because that opened my eyes. And then I was like, all these songs that were made back in the 60s, 70s, they knew they were making a time capsule. They knew they were making something that was going to have to be timeless. And then today, like, music is just kind of written to succeed, because I feel like these big labels, they don't look at music as really much of an art form as they do a moneymaker.
Yeah.
And from a business standpoint, it's so smart. But from like the standpoint of somebody like me as an artist who like wants to put soul and all this stuff into what they're creating, it's kind of I don't know, a punch to the stomach, because the stuff that they're making succeeds so well. And it's just like, oh my goodness. It's crazy.
We do. We talk about that a lot, this sort of the meaning of music and how it's not really an expression anymore of the artist's soul, but there
are like little pinches and glimmers of that.
Oh,
that do happen.
Of course. Yes.
Which when I see it, it's just like, so like, I'm so glad they let them do that.
Right.
I'm so glad that artist could express themselves without the label being like, actually, let's not do it, And it's just like, it gives me a little bit of hope. This little
But I think that's also how you differentiate yourself too, which is why I think you're definitely going to go places. And, we were talking about your performance at the Whiskey, and we were talking about how starstruck Tina was. And I was like, I haven't watched American Idol, no shit, since probably Carrie Underwood was on. So I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Who is this kid?
Yeah.
But then I saw your performance. So I think you did another Brick in the Wall, didn't you? With Fast Times?
Yes, with the band there. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
So I saw your performance then and immediately became a huge fan because you have such a stage presence about you. I love like your voice, and you and I were talking, and the three of us were talking about how you do really come from that 60s, 70s kind of vibe. How do you feel like, because obviously on this podcast, we talk a lot about 80s metal. That's kind of the whole focus of what we do here. But how do you feel like that 60s and 70s kind of morphed into the 80s? Like we talk about bands like Poison and Motley Crue and Bon Jovi. And I mean, it all is like an evolution one to the next. But how do you feel like those kinds of music blends kind of all work together and evolve?
Well, I think it's really amazing because in a way, what the bands were doing in the 80s was a little bit retro. It was new at the time, but at the same time, they were doing something that was unheard of, but it was still retro. Because you got to think, like, the transition into the 70s and 80s, here come the drum machines, here comes, like, and all the synthy stuff. And then all these bands were like, what the hell, man?
True.
Like, your whole like, band is, like, machines. And then here comes, Motley Crue and Poison and all these guys y'all are talking about, and they're just like, wah, and they're bringing something back that was almost starting to fade away.
Right.
True.
And what they were doing was so like out of the norm and so crazy, and they're dressing up and they're doing something so different. They're expressing themselves in a way that hadn't previously been done before, and they're taking inspiration from like Kiss and Black Sabbath and all this stuff, and they're creating something. And even how that kind of morphed into the 90s, because like the 90s with, Nirvana and Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, all that stuff was so unexpected in my eyes, because they took what the hair metal bands were doing and what kind of happened in the 60s, and then they combine that with like this darker lyricism and shining a spotlight on what hadn't been, shined down on before.
Right.
And so it's really awesome how all these kind of genres work together and morphed into all what we have today, because it's kind of hard to make something new these days.
Yeah.
Because I feel like all we can do is look backwards. And the stuff that's coming out on the radio is new in a way, but it's still like the same stuff that was happening in the 2010s.
Right.
Yeah. And what you just described is what I always mention a lot, and what we talk about a lot is you kind of talked about how the 80s almost kind of went into this completely electronic format. If it weren't for these 80s metal bands that were coming in and like really rocking, we almost went into this like space, which by the way, I love the 80s metal electronic stuff too, but we almost went into this space where it was nothing but keyboards and electronics and no actual instruments. But I feel like that's where we're at now also. And so for artists like you that are coming in, that are playing like personal songs, that are playing instruments, I feel like there's such an opening for that kind of music right now, because people are just bound to get burned out on all this synthetic stuff that's being created in the studio.
Yeah. And I went to a music festival in Manchester, Tennessee called Bonnaroo.
Oh,
and when I went there, it was such a big blend. And there were bands there.
Right. Real bands.
Real bands.
Yeah.
And they were like doing this soul music. And they were younger people too. And they were doing soul music and this indie rock and rock music and all this stuff. And it was just like, and that at that moment, I was like, holy shit, I think I can actually make it. I think I could actually do something now, you know, because there for, you know, a moment, there was like a gray area in my mind where I was like, I don't want to be looked at as a novelty act for the rest of my life. I don't want to be, you know, that kid who just does like 70s covers, 60s and 70s covers. And, you know, he was cool on American Idol, but like, what the hell has he done since? You know, I realized when I went to that festival, I was like, wow, there are people really doing this. And it's something that I can really, really like make happen.
Yeah. And you write your own songs too.
Always.
So,
always.
And you have a new single out?
I do, called The Show Is Over Now.
I listened to you perform that live on a YouTube clip and it was amazing. I love that song.
Well, thank you so much.
Loved it.
Was it at the hotel?
I think it was at
that
Hotel
was
Cafe,
that was
Was it? It was out. It looked like it was outside. I don't know. I don't know this venue you're talking about.
That might have been at the Pell City block party.
Okay.
And
it was great.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It was so funny because the song was so. The song has changed a bunch, and I remember when I was on the show. I don't know, man. It was just this growing, evolving song as time went on, because I started writing it like during the show, and then I finished it after the show, and it's just kind of like this thing about the show and, you know, what it meant to me and what it means now and everything. So it's I'll play it for you guys if you want me to.
Yeah, I know a secret.
Oh my gosh, we get a live performance?
He's got a guitar here. It's really exciting. I know.
Yes.
I think you should. Why don't you?
You want me to?
Yeah.
Do
totally.
It. Do it.
Let's do it. We
Let's
got
hear
time.
it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
My God. For sure this is the first time we've had live music, Tina.
No, because
what?
Ira
when did this happen?
Ira and Mark.
Oh, yes. Ira and Mark from Bullet Boys.
But it was on Zoom and they were separate, so they kept canceling each other out. So if you listened to that episode, you probably didn't hear much.
True.
Oh my gosh, he has a harmonica. He has a harmonica. This is amazing.
Oh, I love when he does like the harmonica,
this could be great.
Guitar. So exciting. We get like our own personal, I mean, especially you're right there in the studio.
I know.
I still have to watch him on Zoom, but
I know. And I haven't managed to make it to one of his gigs yet. I've had something scheduled every single time, but
for sure it's going to happen.
I'm going to be hitting up some Tristen shows around town.
Absolutely.
For sure.
He needs to go on tour so he can like head down to the Midwest.
I agree. All right. We're going to get a little.
I don't want to blast out.
So exciting.
This Zach will help us with the sound and make sure we're not killing ears.
Does that sound all right?
Sound check.
That's good. All right, so this is called The Show Is Over Now. I wrote this about being on the show and everything, and all my experiences for all the people who loved me on the show and all the people who didn't like me too much. Everybody. Well, I followed my dreams and I woke up too fast. And the sun wasn't up, I had to wait for say life is what it seems, but not on a stage. They say, stop acting so crazy, son, you really show your age. Be careful shooting for the stars, you might miss and hit the sun. Well, that's the beauty and the beast that's inside each and every one. He said there's life to be lived, and there's love in this place. Oh, but I can only see it hidden in a stranger's face. Well, I'm just about tired of being called a liar and having my hands tied behind my back. Well, I'm always choking on the words I haven't spoken, just to watch the stage lights go black. Well, the show is over now. Well, the show is over now. Well, the show is over now. Well, the seats are all empty, all the people went home. There's a ringing in my ears, and it won't seem to go. Do you remember who I used to be? Probably don't, 'cause now you're used to me. Well, I'm just about tired of being called a liar and having my hands tied behind my back. Well, I'm always choking on the words I haven't spoken, just to watch the stage lights go black. Well, the show is over now. Well, the show is over now. Well, the show is over now. Escaping walls that surround me, only the sound waves cannot be free.
Ah,
Oh
my
my gosh, that was so good.
Thank you so much.
that is the lyrics of that are just so beautiful. What a poignant.
They are
tribute.
such great lyrics.
Love
Thank you
it.
so much. Y'all
Wow.
want to hear another one?
We got time for
Oh
another
my
one?
gosh, yes.
This is one that I got coming out.
Oh, you heard it here first. Brand new.
This one's called Mountain Jack. It's supposed to be coming out this month. It's about an axe murderer from Canada.
Oh,
Oh.
a little bit different.
Old blues
topic.
tale, I'll tell you. Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit. bubbles get bossed around and told what to do until the sun went down. Well, one day he got fed up. He raised up his axe and he cut him up, Mountain Jack. Police got there on the scene. They found every single man split down the seams. They found one man dead under a tree with a note on his head said, "You can't find me." Well, the police were hit on his back. The note said, "Don't come back," signed Mountain Jack. In a little dive bar outside of Maine, well, a man busted in just screaming his name. Nobody there took a stand. They were a little too weary of the axe in his hand. And before anybody could shout, he raised up his axe and he took him out, Mountain Jack. Well, the cops got there the very next day. It was a terrible scene. They didn't know what to say. Found a piece of his axe and a piece of a note. One bent down and found a piece of his coat. Well, the police were hit on his back. They heard a rumor he was down by the train track. But when the cops got there, they were just too slow. He was moving on a train down to New Mexico. So the cops huddled up and made a plan to get him when the train stopped in Overland. And when they got there, there he was. He was sleeping on a freighter in Kansas. For interrogation, trying to get him to admit an explanation. But all he did was sit and smile. So they put him in the cell to sit for a while. But when they got back, he was gone. They're still looking everywhere beyond for Mountain Jack.
Oh my God, love it!
Wow, the Halloween song right there.
That combines some of my favorite things like rock, blues, and true crime. Really, that was a song for me. I love that.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
that was so great, Tristen. Like I mean, just keep writing these songs. I mean, you're so gifted and talented at just songwriting. Well, I can't wait to see what you produce.
I have a question for you, Erica. So from the 80s metal genre, we know a lot of obscure songs. What are you thinking about in terms of wanting to hear him sing? Because I would love to hear him do a cover of All Lips and Hips.
I think that Electric Boys.
We'll send you some stuff on the side, totally. Tristan. Be like, this is some stuff that we would love to hear you do. But
I used to do, man, when I played in bars all the time, I would do that. One person requested it one time, "Round and Round" by Rat.
Oh.
And if I did it, I would forget a lot of the lyrics. But
well, Erica could sing. Right. I'm volunteering her to sing. No,
because he was like he was a truck driver. He would be like, he was heckling. Oh yeah, sorry. It was this truck driver guy, and he was kind of heckling me, and I was up there. He was like, "You know any Rat?
Play some Rat, man.
Play some Rat, man." And I was like, and I just whipped it out of my tail, brother, and I just started playing it, and he was like.
He's like, dude, play some Rat.
Dude, got a $20 tip, so I ain't gonna complain.
Oh, nice.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my God.
Back Tristen, in the glory days.
I really just cannot wait to hear, I can't wait to hear what you're producing and what you're working on and what you drop into the world, because it's just going to be fabulous.
What is next for you, Tristen? Like, what do you got shows? You got new music coming out? What's on the horizon?
I mean, so much stuff is coming out. I'm going to be releasing Mountain Jack pretty soon.
Cool.
So
nice.
That one, and then, making the shows over now was such a fun experience, man. And making this one has been, even more fun. I really want to get in the studio more often.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a live guy. I recorded a live album when I did my show at the Whiskey.
Right.
So expect that coming around next year.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and then I'm going to Canada. That's gonna be so much fun. And yeah, you know, I'm getting a lot of stuff lined up in the books. So it's a lot of stuff is happening. There's a lot of stuff on the horizon. So
you guys,
really excited.
Our listeners, you guys need to like run out and start following Tristen on socials and listen to everything that he's doing, because this guy is, I mean, I'm telling you, this is a rock star, and we're so excited to see young people picking up guitars and instruments and bringing back some good soul and good sound and good, you know, musicality. So thanks so much,
Amazing.
Well,
Tristen,
thank you guys so much
for being on here. This is a part where we ask our listeners to actually weigh in on our social media. We want to know, what's your favorite Tristen Gressett like musical moment? Did you watch Idol? Did you love one of the songs he did? Give us your thoughts, and then you can follow us and interact with us at www.a92a.life, on Instagram at a92a_life, or find us on Facebook. And this is how Eric and I end every episode. Until next time, you keep ratting those bangs and banging those heads. And watch out for Tristen.
And watch out for Tristen Gressett.
I didn't know where that outro was going. I didn't know what you were about to say.
All right, we'll see you, everybody. See you next time.
Thanks, Tristen.
Thank you,
Bye,
Tristen.
everybody.